in. Since the dawn of history, virtually every human society, there have been people who have given a great deal and many more people who have given little or nothing. Some people have property and power, class and capital, status and clout, which are denied to the many. And time again, the people who receive a great deal tell the many, be grateful to have anything at all. They say the world cannot be changed, and the many must accept the terms on which they're allowed to live in it. These days, this attitude is justified by economic theory. The many, with little or nothing, are told they live in a global economy whose terms cannot be changed. They must accept the place assigned to them by competitive markets. By the way, isn't it really curious that globalization seems to always mean low wages for the poor people, but always used to justify massive payments for top chief executives of global corporations? Our Labour Party came into being more than a century ago to fight that attitude. And it's still what our Labour Party is about. Labour is the voice that says to the many, at home and all around the world, you don't have to take what you're given. Labour says, you may be born poor, but you don't have to stay poor. You don't have to live without power and without hope. You don't have to set limits on your talent and your ambition or those of your children. You don't have to accept prejudice, discrimination, sickness, poverty, or destruction of war. You don't have to be grateful to survive in a world made by others. No, you set the terms for the people in power over you. And you dismiss them when they fail you. That is what democracy is about. That's always been our Labour Party's message. You don't have to take what you're given. It was the great Nigerian writer, who I'm such a huge admirer of, Ben Okri, who wrote perhaps, and put it maybe the best. He said, the most authentic thing about us is our capacity to create, to overcome, to endure, to transform, and to love. Ben Okri, what a genius. But they're at it again. They're at it again, the people who want you to take what you've been given. This Tory government, which was made by the few, and to be quite fair, paid for by the few. Since becoming leader, David Cameron has received £55 million in donations from hedge funds, from people who have a lot. And to be quite honest, they want to keep it all. That's why this prepaid government came into being, to protect the few and tell all the rest of us to accept what we're given. And to prove the honesty of their endeavour, they've already delivered £145 million in tax breaks to the hedge funds in return for that small investment of £55 million. They want us. They expect us to believe there is no alternative to cutting jobs, slashing public services, vandalising the National Health Service, cutting junior doctors' pay, reducing care for the elderly, destroying the hopes of young people for a college education, or putting university graduates into massive debt, putting 500,000 more children in poverty. They want the people of Britain to accept all these things. They expect millions of people to work harder, longer, for a lower quality of life on lower wages. Well, they're not having it. Our Labour Party says no. The British people never have to take what they're given. And they certainly not when it... And certainly not And we certainly don't have to take those kind of messages from Cameron and Osborne. So, conference, I come almost to the end of my first conference speech. And I thank you for listening. So, okay, all right, don't worry. Listen, I've spoken at 37 meetings since Saturday afternoon. Is that not enough? We'll talk later. So I end conference with a quote. The last bearded man to lead the Labour Party was a wonderful, great Scotsman, Keir Hardie. Who died a century ago this weekend, and we commemorated him with a book we launched on Sunday evening. Keir grew up in dreadful poverty and made so much of his life and founded our party, stood up to be counted on votes for women, stood up for social justice, stood up to develop our political party. We owe him and so many more so much. And he kind of was asked once, summarize what you're about? Keir, summarize what you really mean in your life? And he thought for a moment, and he said this: my work has consisted of trying to stir up divine discontent with wrong. What words they are, what brilliance. So I say to you, don't accept injustice. Stand up against prejudice. Let us build a kinder politics, a more caring society together. Let's put our values, the people's values, back into politics. Conference, thank you.